Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Hard Trapathy from Trip Law. Today, I want to discuss with you a very important topic regarding changes in 2025 under the Trump administration with respect to naturalization and citizenship. So there's been a lot of recent policy changes and changes with respect to procedure when it involves naturalization interviews and the whole naturalization process for those green card holders who are either self-petitioning through the 5-year rule or are trying to get their naturalization through their spouse through the 3-year rule. Well, there's been some recent changes as of 2025 under this second Trump administration that will affect your naturalization case and you becoming a U.S. citizen. So very important video if you're thinking of applying or already in the process of applying and you want to retain a law firm who can help you navigate these complex processes. We're here to actually show you things that are now changing that are making the naturalization and citizenship process a lot more difficult. And we want to avoid situations where people either get denied or then they get referred to ICE and things of that nature. So very important that you understand what recent changes have taken place and what you can do to best prepare for your naturalization interview. So we're going to talk about what are the changes and how do they compare with what was going on in the past, and with respect to those policy shifts, what's going on now. So a lot of different executive orders have been passed under the Trump administration. A lot of proposals have been made. So a lot of these changes are actually in process, or others have already been actually promulgated and now they're actually law and policy. So I'm going to go with you today detailing everything that occurs with respect to these changes. So let's dive right in. So the first thing that's happening under the Trump administration affecting naturalization for your case is now they're doing more workplace investigations, personal investigations, neighborhood investigations, where the administration, where historically this wasn't a thing as relevant or prevalent, but now it is. So the administration now is doing what's called neighborhood checks. So they're actually going to the actual naturalization applicant's home or neighborhood, and they're conducting interviews and investigations either at the neighborhood or the workplace, or they're looking at other community sources to verify what's called good moral character and other relevant criteria. So good moral character is actually something that is a legal element that they will look into to make sure that you don't have any sort of crimes within the past 5 years or any crimes involving moral turpitude. So these are things where now the administration has mandated, and it is becoming more commonplace, where they're going into neighborhoods and they're checking to see if naturalization applicants, by doing the interviews, have maintained that good moral character. This wasn't really enforced relevantly in the new day and age, but it was actually something they did in the early 1990s, but now they're actually bringing it back. So something to be cognizant of and be aware of. The other thing is now there's this whole anti-Americanism screening that they're doing. What this involves is they're looking at social media, they're looking at ultimately things that the applicant may be doing to see if they actually have anti-American values, anti-Semitic values, things involving terrorism, when deciding whether this applicant is eligible for citizenship or that status here in the United States. So right now there's been a lot of lawsuits about that. Courts are kind of looking at what is the definition of anti-Americanism. And so basically it's a legal policy that looks at whether applicants have either espoused, endorsed, promoted, supported, or otherwise held views, right, that have been deemed to be anti-American. So they want to definitely, if you're actually watching this video and you have something on your social media or anything of that nature, you want to make sure that you're not espousing that anti-Americanism, because they are looking into that nowadays. The other thing is they're actually doing a lot more denaturalization with respect to that priority with the DOJ memo that came out in June of 2025. That's basically prioritizing denaturalization. So the Homeland Security attorneys are looking at revoking U.S. citizenship where there's been cases where serious crimes or fraud has occurred, or if there's concealment of like material facts during the actual naturalization process. This can actually lead to denaturalization, and they are taking active steps in this new administration to do that. So it's very important that you're not disclosing things from the government, that you're being honest and transparent, especially with the advice of counsel. And we here at our law firm at Trip Law will help you navigate that process. So ultimately, naturalized citizens who do get naturalization are also at greater risk of losing their citizenship if they obtain that citizenship via fraud or misrepresentation or criminal issues and things of that nature. Another thing is they're restricting and revoking, or in the process of trying to revoke birthright citizenship through Executive Order 14160, which basically is called the Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship Order. And it was signed on January 20th of 2025. And what they're doing is they're actually reinterpreting the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment. So what does that mean for you? Basically what that means is they're trying to deny birthright citizenship for those U.S.-born children of parents who are in the U.S. either allegedly unlawfully or temporarily. So this is something that has been challenged in the courts. It's been blocked in part, but it's such an important process, especially if you or a loved one are applying and you did have that situation occur. Now, there's also a lot of funding cuts and program eliminations that they're doing. There's something called the Citizenship and Integration Grant Program, which what they're doing is they're basically, this was like a fund where they were providing money to nonprofits to basically help applicants learn civics and English and proper legal assistance that they were given so that they could prepare for their naturalization exam. But this has now been terminated. So this actually makes it harder for those applicants who are trying to seek naturalization. So that's just one thing that's also changed. And then finally, a big thing that has changed is the naturalization test, civics and English test changes. They're proposed or they're in process right now, but there's actually discussion and early movement towards kind of implementing a harder version of the naturalization test. So it would be a larger question pool, basically like 128 questions they can ask out of versus 100. There's more questions asked, possibly, where there's 20 questions instead of 10. There's also a higher percentage of correct answers that are needed. So it just makes it a lot more difficult than the current 2008 version. So there's definitely more increased scrutiny with respect to the actual exam itself. So we at our law firm will make sure we walk you through that process and make sure you're on pace to doing a good job at your interview. Now, with respect to the increased scrutiny, that means that there's going to be slower processing time. So there's going to be more background checks. We're seeing a lot more requests for evidence at our firm where we have to then do new filings because requests for evidence are being issued. They're looking at the good moral character once again more strictly. So they're going to look at marriage-based green cards. They're doing fraud checks even after a divorce has occurred when you're actually seeking naturalization. So overall, there's longer review periods. It is taking more time because they're doing more thorough reviews of the applications. So something to be cognizant of when you're actually walking into that interview. You want to be best prepared, make sure you have all your documentation in place, make sure you have great legal counsel, and we here at Triple Law will make sure we walk you through that process and attend your interview so that you have a better chance of succeeding at the interview. So we hope this little nugget today was able to help you prepare for your naturalization interview and the process, and ultimately come in there ready to be prepared and answer those questions in thoroughness and do a good job at your interview. So we here at Triple Law wish you the best of luck. Please feel free to give our office a call at 863-599-6735, and we're more than happy to walk you through this complex naturalization process under the current Trump administration. Thank you for your time and best of luck with your naturalization process.